The stars were quiet that night. Admiral Park sat alone in his private room aboard the flagship Eternal Dawn. He was looking at old pictures of Earth, blue oceans, green forests, white clouds. His home planet was beautiful, but it was also dangerous. Every other species in the galaxy knew this. They called Earth was a planet where everything wanted to kill you. The animals were dangerous. The weather was violent. The diseases were deadly. Most species in the galaxy came from gentle worlds with calm weather and peaceful creatures. But humans came from Earth. They grew up fighting to survive every single day. This made other aliens afraid of humans. They saw humans as monsters, dangerous creatures from a dangerous world. The Galactic Council watched humanity carefully. They did not trust these. Admiral Park did not care what the Council thought. He had served in the United Earth Navy for 30 years. He had seen war. He had seen peace. He had seen humans at their worst and at their best. He knew what his people truly were. His thoughts were broken by a knock on his door. "Come in," he said. Communications officer entered the room. She was young, only 28 years old, but she was one of the best in the fleet. Her face was pale. Her hands were shaking slightly. "Sir," she said, "we received a signal. You need to hear this." Park followed her to the bridge. The Eternal Dawn was a massive ship, home to 5,000 crew members. Its hallways were filled with the sounds of machines working and people talking. But when Park entered the bridge, everyone went silent. Commander Lee was waiting for him. She was his second in command, a woman with sharp eyes and a calm voice. Nothing ever seemed to scare her, but tonight even she looked troubled. "Play the signal," Park ordered. Pressed a button. Static filled the air. Then a voice came through. It was weak and broken, but the words were clear. "To anyone who hears this, please. We are dying. The swarm has found us. Our shields have failed. Our weapons are useless. They are taking our people. They are taking our children. Please, if anyone can hear this, help us. We are on Sanctuary Prime. Please, anyone." The message repeated, then it stopped. The bridge was silent. Park knew about They were one of the oldest species in the galaxy, peaceful scholars who studied the stars and wrote poetry about the universe. They had no army. They had no weapons. Centuries ago, they had left the Galactic Council because they did not want to be part of politics and war. They found a hidden planet and called it Sanctuary Prime. They wanted to live in peace. But peace does not protect you from monsters. The swarm was the most feared enemy in the galaxy. They were not a species. They were a nightmare. Millions of creatures controlled by one mind. They did not negotiate. They did not make peace. They found civilizations and consumed them. They took living beings and changed them into more. No one had ever stopped them. No one had ever survived them. "How old is this signal?" Park asked. 3 days, answered. "It took time to reach us through the relay stations." 3 days, Park repeated. "How far is Sanctuary Prime?" 14 days at maximum speed, Commander said, "if we push our engines to the limit." Park closed his eyes. 17 days total. A lot could happen in 17 days. A lot of people could die. "What about the Galactic Council?" he asked. "Do they know about this?" "We sent them the signal," said. "They received it. They are discussing the situation." Park laughed. It was not a happy sound. "Discussing. Of course they are discussing. They will discuss for weeks. They will debate for months. They will form committees and write reports and have meetings about having more meetings." He opened his eyes, and while they discussed the die, Lieutenant, the tactical officer, spoke up. "Sir, the swarm has never been defeated. Our fleet is strong, but we cannot fight them alone. The Council says we should wait for a unified response." "The Council also said we should stay away from their politics," Park replied. "They said humans were too violent, too dangerous, too unpredictable. They wanted us to stay in our corner of the galaxy and leave everyone else alone." He walked to the center of the bridge and looked at the star map. Sanctuary Prime was a small dot far away, but to Park it looked like a question, a test. What kind of people were humans? What would they do when someone called for help? Signal the 7th Fleet, he said. Signal the 9th Fleet. Signal the 12th Fleet. Tell them to prepare for full mobilization. Stepped forward. Sir, that is over 800 ships. The Council will not approve this action. They will call it an invasion. They will say we are starting a war. The war has already started, Park said. They did not start it, they just wanted to live in peace, but they found them anyway. And now they are dying, alone, afraid, calling out to a galaxy that refuses to answer. He turned to face his crew. These were good people, brave people. They had families back on Earth. They had dreams and hopes and fears. He was asking them to fly into the darkness and fight monsters that had never been beaten. I will not order anyone to come with me, he said. This mission is not approved. It is not safe. It is probably not even possible. They outnumber us. They will fight without mercy. Many of us will not come back. He paused. But somewhere out there, children are crying for help. Parents are trying to protect their families. Good people are dying because no one will stand up for them. The galaxy has given up on them. The Council has abandoned them. His voice grew stronger. I will not abandon them. I come from a planet that tried to kill my ancestors every single day. But they survived, they fought, they refused to give up, and they passed that fire to me, to all of us. He looked at each face on the bridge. The galaxy calls us monsters. Maybe they are right. But today this monster is going to answer a call for help. Who is with me? For a moment no one moved. Then Commander stepped forward and saluted. I am with you, Admiral. Followed, I am with you. One by one, every person on the bridge stepped forward. Every single one. Park felt something warm in his chest. Pride, hope, love for these brave humans who chose to fight for strangers they had never met. Then let us go, he said. Let us show the galaxy what are truly made of. The eternal dawn turned toward the darkness. Behind it, hundreds of ships began to wake up. Engines roared to life. Crews prepared for war. The human fleet was moving. Somewhere far away, they were still crying for help. Help was coming. Across human space, the call went out. Ships that were sleeping woke up. Ships that were resting prepared to move. Ships that were far away turned around and flew toward the gathering point. The human fleet was coming together like a fist closing. On the carrier Iron Resolve, Flight Commander stood in the massive hangar bay. Around him, hundreds of fighter ships waited in neat rows. They were small and fast, built for speed and violence. Each one could destroy enemies much larger than itself. But the pilots were what mattered most. Looked at the young men and women who would fly these ships. Most of them were barely 25 years old. They had trained for years, but many had never seen real combat. They did not know what war truly looked like. He was about to show them. Gather around, he said. His voice was calm but serious. I need to tell you about our enemy. The pilots moved closer. Their faces showed different emotions. Some were excited, some were nervous, some were trying to hide their fear. Pressed a button. A holographic image appeared in the air. It showed a creature that looked like a nightmare. Long arms with sharp claws, a body covered in hard shell, many legs, no eyes that anyone could see. It was wrong somehow. Looking at it made people feel sick. This is a drone, said. One of millions. They are controlled by a hive mind. One intelligence that commands them all. They do not think for themselves. They do not feel pain. They do not feel fear. They exist only to consume and destroy. He changed the image. Now it showed it was not made of metal like human ships. It was alive, a massive creature that could fly through space. Weapons grew from its body like teeth. Their ships are living things, continued. They can heal damage. They can adapt to weapons. They learn from every fight. That is why no one has ever beaten them. They change faster than their enemies can keep up. A young pilot raised her hand. Her name was Bay. She was small but fierce, one of the best pilots in the squadron. She had broken every record in training. "Commander," she said, "has anyone ever tried to fight them?" "Many have tried," answered. "They have destroyed 17 civilizations. Entire species have disappeared because of them. The galaxy considers them unstoppable." "But we are going to fight them anyway," said. It was not a question. Smiled, it was not a happy smile. "Yes, we are, because someone has to, and because we are the only ones stupid enough to try." Some of the pilots laughed nervously. "But here is the thing," continued. "They have never fought, they have never faced humans. They do not know what we are capable of. They do not know how hard we are to kill." He looked at each pilot carefully. "Your ancestors survived ice ages. They survived predators that could tear them apart. They survived diseases that killed millions. They survived wars that burned whole cities. And they kept going. They kept fighting. They never gave up." He pointed at the image of the. "These things have never met anything like us. Today they will learn. Today they will discover what it creates. Today we teach them fear." The pilots stood. The nervousness in their eyes was changing. It was becoming something else, something harder, something dangerous. Smiled, "Let them come." Far below the carrier on the battleship Hammer of Soul, Marine Captain Shin was giving his own speech. But his audience was different. These were not pilots. These were ground soldiers, warriors who would fight face to face with the enemy. 3,000 Marines stood in perfect rows. They wore heavy armor that made them stronger and faster than normal humans. Each suit carried weapons that could destroy buildings. These were the deadliest fighters humanity had ever created. Walked among them slowly. He was not a tall man, but his presence was powerful. He had fought in 3 wars before this one. He had scars on his face and hands. He knew exactly what he was asking these soldiers to do. "They cannot fight," he said. His voice carried across the entire bay. "They are peaceful people. They study stars and write poems. They have never hurt anyone, and now monsters are taking their children." He stopped and turned to face his soldiers. "We are going to stop them. We are going to land on Sanctuary Prime. We are going to find every survivor and protect them. We are going to kill every that gets in our way." He raised his fist. "Not one civilian dies while we still breathe. Not one child is taken while we can still fight. We are the wall between them and the monsters. We are the reason they will survive." The Marines responded as one voice, "Yes, Captain." Nodded, "Check your weapons, check your armor. Say goodbye to anyone you need to say goodbye to. We drop in 14 days. On the medical ship Mercy's Hand, the atmosphere was quieter but no less serious. Dr. Hand stood in her medical bay, organizing supplies, bandages, medicine, surgical tools, blood reserves, everything she might need to save lives. Her staff worked around her, nurses and doctors and technicians, all preparing for what was coming. They did not carry weapons. They did not wear armor, but they were just as important as any soldier. A young nurse named approached her. "Doctor, we received information about biology. Their bodies are very different from ours." Took the file and studied it. There were beautiful creatures, tall and thin, with skin that glowed softly and large eyes that saw colors humans could not imagine. But they were fragile. Their bones were light. Their blood was thin. Their bodies were designed for a gentle world. "They will break easily," said quietly. "Their injuries will be severe." "Can we help them?" asked. "We will help them," answered firmly. "I do not care how different they are. A patient is a patient. Suffering is suffering. We will learn what we need to learn, and we will save everyone we can." She looked around her medical bay. It was clean and bright and ready, but she knew that would not last. Soon it would be filled with blood and screaming and death. She had seen it before. She would see it again. Prepare extra beds, she ordered. We may have human and patients together. I want everyone to study this file. Know their organs, know their blood, know what will kill them and what will save them. At the gathering point, the fleet finally came together. 812 ships, battleships as big as cities, carriers filled with fighters, support ships carrying supplies, medical ships ready for the wounded, transports holding thousands of Marines. 2 million humans, all preparing to fight for people they had never met. Admiral Park stood on the bridge of the Eternal Dawn and looked at the massive fleet before him. It was the largest military force humanity had ever assembled for a single mission. Ships stretched as far as he could see, their lights blinking in the darkness of space. Commander stood beside him. The fleet is ready, Admiral. All ships report prepared for jump. Park nodded slowly. Open a channel, all ships. The communication link connected to every vessel in the fleet. Park's voice would reach 2 million ears. This is Admiral Park, he began. In a few moments, we will jump to hyperspace. In 14 days, we will arrive at Sanctuary Prime. In 14 days, we will meet an enemy that has never been defeated. He paused. The Galactic Council has told us to stay away. They say this is not our fight. They say they chose isolation and now they must face the results. They say we should think about ourselves. His voice grew harder. But we are not going to listen. We are not going to turn away. We are not going to let innocent people die while we do nothing. That is not who we are. That has never been who we are. He looked at the stars. The galaxy calls us. They fear us because of where we come from. But today, I want you to remember something. Yes, Earth made us dangerous. Yes, we are violent and stubborn and hard to kill. But Earth also made us brave. It made us protective. It made us the kind of people who run toward danger to save others. He raised his hand. Today we are not monsters. Today we are guardians. Today we answer a cry for help that no one else will answer. Today we show the galaxy what are truly for. He dropped his hand. All ships jump. 812 ships vanished into hyperspace. The stars stretched into lines of light. The fleet was on its way. They did not know it yet, but help was coming, and nothing in the galaxy would stop it. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace like thunder breaking through silence. One moment, the area around Sanctuary Prime was dark and quiet. The next moment, 800 warships appeared in a flash of light and energy. Admiral Park stood on the bridge of the Eternal Dawn and looked at the planet below. His heart sank. Sanctuary Prime was supposed to be beautiful. Intelligence reports had described blue oceans and green forests and silver cities that sparkled under twin suns. They had built a paradise here, a place of peace and learning and art. But paradise was burning. Smoke rose from the surface. Cities that once sparkled now glowed with fire. The beautiful forests were blackened scars. The oceans reflected orange flames. And above the planet, covering the sky like a disease, was the swarm. Thousands of ships, tens of thousands. They moved like a living thing, pulsing and shifting and hungry. Each ship was alive, a creature of bone and flesh twisted into a weapon. They surrounded the planet like flies around a corpse. "Report," Park ordered. His voice was steady, but inside he felt cold. Lieutenant worked at his station. His fingers flew across the controls. Numbers and images appeared on the main screen. Enemy count approximately 4,000 capital class. Unknown number of smaller attack creatures. Ground forces estimated at 50 million drones. Commander closed her eyes for a moment. 4,000, we have 800. 5-1, Park said quietly. Better odds than I expected. No one laughed. Spoke up from her station. Admiral, I am detecting signals from the surface. They are weak, but there are survivors. Multiple shelter locations are still active. They have not killed everyone. Park felt a small spark of hope. How many survivors? Unknown, But the shelters were designed for millions, if even a fraction of them held. She did not finish the sentence, but everyone understood. "What are they doing?" Park asked. Pulled up more information. His face became pale. "They are harvesting, sir. They are not just killing they are taking them, alive." The bridge became very quiet. Everyone knew what harvesting meant. They did not simply kill their enemies. They absorbed them, changed them, turned living beings into more. The people they took would suffer a fate worse than death. Park gripped the railing in front of him. His knuckles turned white. "We will not let that happen, not today." He turned to the tactical display. They were spread out around the planet, focused on collecting from the surface. They had not expected anyone to come. Why would they? No one ever came. The galaxy had abandoned the. But humans were not the galaxy. "All ships, battle formation Delta 7, Park commanded. Battleships form the front line. Carriers stay back and prepare to launch fighters. Support ships remain at safe distance." Looked at him. "Sir, with those numbers, a direct attack is extremely dangerous. Perhaps we should." "There is no time for safe plans," Park interrupted. "Every minute we wait, more die, or worse. We hit them hard and fast. We make them focus on us instead of the planet." He opened the fleet-wide channel again. "All hands, this is Admiral Park. You have seen the enemy. You know the odds. They are not good. But odds do not matter when innocent lives hang in the balance." He looked at the swarm of monsters surrounding the planet. "They have never been defeated. They believe they cannot be defeated. Today we prove them wrong. Today we show them that the galaxy is not theirs to consume. Today we fight not for ourselves, but for people who cannot fight for themselves." He raised his hand. "All ships attack." The human fleet surged forward. The first shots crossed the space between the fleets in seconds. These were not normal weapons. They fired metal slugs at incredible speed, fast enough to punch through anything. When they hit they tore through organic hulls and scattered blood and flesh across the void. They screamed. Somehow their screams carried through space. It should have been impossible, but they did not obey normal rules. The sound was horrible, a shriek of rage and hunger and surprise. They had not expected resistance. But now they fought back. The swarm twisted and turned toward the human fleet, opened their mouths and spat acid across space. Living missiles launched from their bodies. Tentacles as long as starships reached out to grab human vessels and crush them. The battle for Sanctuary Prime had begun. On the carrier Iron Resolve, Flight Commander ran toward his fighter. Around him, hundreds of pilots did the same. Alarms filled the air. Lights flashed. The hangar bay was controlled chaos. "All pilots launch immediately," the ship's captain ordered through the speakers. "Cover the battleships. Do not let them get close." Jumped into his fighter and powered up the engines. The cockpit closed around him. Screens lit up showing the battle outside. It looked like hell. "Viper Squadron, form on me," he ordered through his radio. "We are going in." His fighter shot out of the carrier and into space. Behind him, Bay and the rest of his squadron followed. They were 20 pilots against thousands of enemies. But they did not know how to give up. They sent attack creatures toward them. Small things, smaller than fighters but fast and hungry. They had claws and teeth and acid that could melt through metal. They moved in swarms, trying to overwhelm the human pilots with numbers. Smiled grimly. "Break and engage, watch each other's backs." His fingers danced across the controls. His fighter spun and twisted through space. Weapons fired. One attack creature exploded, then another, then another. His voice came through the radio. "Commander, there are so many of them." "Then we have plenty of targets," replied. "Keep moving. A moving target is hard to hit." Around them the battle raged. Human ships pushed forward, taking damage but dealing more. They never stopped firing. Every shot found a target. Were dying, but they were not dying fast enough. One battleship, the Pride of, was surrounded by tentacles from multiple. Its hull groaned and cracked under the pressure. Inside, the crew fought desperately, firing every weapon they had. "We need support," the captain screamed over the radio. "We are being crushed." Heard the call, he looked at his squadron. "With me, full speed." They flew toward the Pride of like arrows. The tentacles were thick, covered in armored plates. Normal weapons would bounce off, but had an idea. "Target the joints," he ordered. "Where the tentacles connect to the body, that is where they are weak." The fighters attacked. Missiles and energy beams struck the joints. The tentacles shuddered. Some of them released their grip. The Pride of broke free and turned its guns on the that had trapped it. "Thank you, Viper Squadron," the captain said. There was relief in his voice. "We owe you." "Pay us back by staying alive," replied. On the bridge of the Eternal Dawn, Admiral Park watched the battle unfold. His fleet was holding. They were actually holding. They were surprised, confused, angry. They had expected easy prey. They had found warriors instead. But the cost was terrible. 20 ships destroyed, 30 more damaged, thousands of humans dead already, and the battle had only been going for 1 hour. "Sir," said, "I am receiving reports from the surface. The ground forces are accelerating their harvest. They know we are here. They are trying to take as many as possible before we can stop them." Park felt anger burn in his chest. They were using the battle as a distraction. While the fleets fought in space, they were stealing people from the surface. "Launch the Marines," he ordered. "Tell Captain Shin to proceed with ground operations. We will keep the busy up here." Nodded. "The transports are launching now." Park watched as dozens of transport ships broke away from the fleet and dove toward the planet. Each one carried Marines in heavy. Each one was protected by fighter escorts. They would have to pass through the swarm to reach the surface. Some of them would not make it. But some of them would, and that would have to be enough. "Keep fighting," Park said to himself. "Keep them focused on us. Give the Marines time." A broke through the front line and headed straight for the Eternal Dawn. Its mouth opened, revealing rows of teeth that could tear through metal. Acid dripped from its lips. "Target that thing," Park ordered calmly. "All forward guns." The flagship opened fire. This head exploded in a shower of gore. Its body kept moving for a few seconds, then went still and drifted away. Park did not celebrate. There were thousands more where that came from. "Keep fighting," he repeated. "They are counting on us." In the distance, the first transport ships entered the planet's atmosphere. Fire surrounded them as they descended. Below them, a world of terror waited. But so did survivors, people who needed help, children who needed rescue. The Marines were coming. The transport ship shook violently as it fell through the sky. Inside, Marine Captain Shin held onto a metal bar and watched his soldiers. 300 Marines in heavy, packed together like cargo. Their faces were hidden behind helmets, but he knew they were scared. Good. Fear kept soldiers alive. 30 seconds to landing, the pilot shouted over the intercom. "Enemy contacts everywhere. We are taking fire." Something hit the outside of the transport. The lights flickered. Red warning signs appeared on the walls, but the ship kept falling. The pilot was good. He would get them down. Checked his weapon one last time. It was a heavy rifle that could punch through armor. His made him stronger and faster than any normal human, but against he did not know if it would be enough. "Listen up," he shouted to his Marines. "The moment those doors open, we move fast, find cover, establish a perimeter around the central shelter. There are hundreds of thousands of hiding underground. We are the wall between them and the monsters." The ship hit the ground hard. The doors opened. Smoke and fire and screaming filled the air. Was the first one out. The city was a nightmare. Buildings that were once beautiful silver towers were now burning ruins. The streets were covered with broken glass and debris. Bodies lay everywhere. Bodies. Some were whole, some were not. And they were everywhere. They moved like insects, climbing over walls and through windows. Their claws scraped against metal. Their mouths made wet clicking sounds. Hundreds of them, thousands of them, all moving toward the central shelter. Open fire, screamed. The Marines obeyed. Heavy rifles roared. Missiles flew. The first wave of drones exploded into pieces of shell and flesh, but more came, always more. Ran forward, firing as he moved. A drone jumped at him from the left. He ducked under its claws and shot it in the head. Another came from the right. He kicked it away with his armored boot, then finished it with a burst of gunfire. "Move to the shelter entrance," he ordered. "Do not stop moving." His Marines fought through the street. Step by step, body by body, they kept coming, but the humans kept shooting. Gave them strength. Training gave them skill. Determination gave them will. Private was in the middle of the group. He was young, only 22 years old. This was his first real combat. His hands were shaking inside his armored gloves, but his finger stayed steady on the trigger. A drone broke through the line and headed straight for him. It was fast, faster than anything he had ever seen. Its claws reached for his throat. Moved without thinking. He stepped to the side, grabbed the creature's arm, and twisted. The arm broke with a wet snapping sound. The screamed, silenced it with his rifle. He stood there for a moment, breathing hard. He had just killed something, a living thing. It had tried to kill him, but still, he had ended a life. "Move," someone shouted. He shook his head and kept running. There would be time to think later, if there was a later. The Marines reached the shelter entrance. It was a massive metal door built into the ground. Behind it, hundreds of thousands waited in the tunnels below, safe for now. But they were digging. They were trying to find another way in. "Defensive positions," ordered. "Form a circle around this entrance. Nothing gets through." The Marines spread out. They used broken buildings as cover. They set up heavy weapons. They created a wall of armor and firepower. They attacked again. This time there were more of them. They came from every direction, from the streets, from the buildings, from the sky where flying variants swooped down with claws extended. The battle became chaos, fire and blood and screaming. Marines fell. The ground became slippery with gore. Fought like a machine. He did not think, he did not feel. He just moved and shot and killed, again and again and again. A message came through his radio. It was Dr. Han from the medical ship. "Captain Shin, we are receiving heavy casualties from your position. Can you evacuate the wounded?" "Negative," replied between shots. "We cannot move from this position. If we leave, they will break through to the shelter." "Then we will come to you," said. "Hold your position. Medical teams are landing now." In orbit, the space battle continued without pause. Flight Commander had lost count of how many enemies he had killed. His fighter was damaged in 3 places. Warning lights kept flashing. But he kept flying. He kept fighting. "Commander," Bae's voice came through the radio. She sounded tired but determined. "I found something, big contact, very big." Looked at his sensors. There in the middle of the swarm was a massive shape. It was much larger than the other. Its body pulsed with strange light. Tentacles spread from it in all directions, connecting to other ships. "What is that thing?" he asked. "I think it is the command organism," said. "The central brain. Kill that and maybe the swarm loses coordination." Felt a spark of hope. If they could cut off the head, maybe the body would fall. "Report to Admiral Park. Tell him what we found." On the eternal dawn, Admiral Park received the message. He studied the images of the command organism. It was protected by hundreds of. Getting to it would be almost impossible. But almost impossible was still possible. "If we destroy that thing," Commander said, "the swarm might fall apart. Without central control, the drones will become confused." "Or they will become more dangerous," Park replied. "Random attacks instead of coordinated ones." Either way, it gives us a chance. Park nodded slowly. He looked at the tactical display. His fleet was holding, but barely. Ships were being destroyed faster than they could destroy the enemy. The Marines on the ground were surrounded. The medical ships were overflowing with wounded. They needed something to change. They needed a miracle. "Prepare Operation Final Dawn," he ordered. His eyes widened. "Sir, that is experimental. We have never tried a micro-hyperspace jump in combat conditions. The gravitational forces could tear the ships apart." "I know the risks." "The crew." "I know the risks," Park repeated. His voice was hard. "But if we do nothing, everyone dies anyway. Our Marines, all of us. At least this way we have a chance." He opened the fleet channel. "All capital ships prepare for coordinated hyperspace jump. Target coordinates will be inside the enemy formation." "Yes, you heard me correctly. Inside. We are going to jump directly into the heart of the swarm." The fleet acknowledged. There was fear in some voices, determination in others, but no one refused, no one ran away. Running was not in their nature. On the planet's surface, Private found himself separated from his squad. An attack had scattered the Marines. He ran through burning streets looking for friendly faces. He found none. What he found was worse. A group of children huddled in an alley, 5 of them maybe 6 years old. Their glowing skin was covered with ash and blood. Their large eyes were full of terror. They had been hiding, but they had found them. 10 drones surrounded the alley entrance. They moved slowly, enjoying the hunt. Their claws clicked against the ground. Raised his rifle, he fired. 2 drones fell, the others turned toward him. He kept firing, more fell but more came. His rifle clicked empty, no more ammunition. The drones advanced. Looked at the children behind him. They were crying silently. They did not understand what was happening. They just knew that monsters were coming to hurt them. He drew his combat knife. It was a simple blade, metal and carbon. His grandfather had given it to him before he joined the military. "A soldier always needs a backup plan," the old man had said. Had never expected this to be his backup plan. "Stay behind me," he said to the children. They could not understand his language, but they understood his meaning. They moved closer together. The first drone lunged, met it with his knife. The blade found the gap between the creature's armor plates. It screamed and fell. Another came. He ducked under its claws and stabbed upward. Another scream, another body. But there were too many. They surrounded him. Claws reached from every direction. Felt pain as something cut through his armor, then more pain and more. But he did not fall. He kept fighting. One knife against the monsters, one human against the swarm. For the children, for the innocent, for the reason he had become a soldier in the first place. The last thing he saw before everything went black was another Marine squad arriving. Gunfire filled the alley. The fell. Strong arms grabbed him and pulled him to safety. The children were saved. Smiled, then the darkness took him. Admiral Park stood at the center of his bridge. Around him, officers worked at their stations with desperate focus. The battle had raged for 3 days. The human fleet was bleeding. Ships were dying. Heroes were falling. But they had not given up. They would never give up. "All ships report ready for hyperspace jump," Commander announced. Her voice was calm, but Park could see the fear in her eyes. What they were about to do had never been done before. It might kill them all. But doing nothing would definitely kill them all. "On my command," Park said. He looked at the tactical display one last time. The command organism floated in the center of the swarm, protected by hundreds of. It was the brain of the enemy, the heart of the nightmare. If they could destroy it, the swarm might fall apart. If they could not, humanity's greatest fleet would die trying. "All hands brace for jump," Park ordered. "In 3, 2, 1, jump." The world turned inside out. Hyperspace was not meant for short jumps. It was designed for traveling between stars, not between ships in the same battlefield. The energy required was immense. The stress on the ships was terrible. Every piece of metal groaned. Every system screamed warnings. But they made it. The human fleet appeared inside the swarm, not behind it, not beside it, inside it. They had no time to react. Human ships materialized in the middle of their formation, sometimes appearing right next to enemy. Guns that were already aimed opened fire at point-blank range. The slaughter was immediate and terrible. Exploded before they could even turn around. Slugs punched through them from meters away. Missiles did not have time to arm before hitting their targets. Human ships collided with organic vessels, their armored hulls smashing through alien flesh. It was chaos, pure, beautiful, deadly chaos. The eternal dawn appeared less than a kilometer from the command organism. The massive alien creature was still trying to understand what had happened when Park gave his final order. All forward weapons, fire everything. The flagship opened up with every gun it had. Missiles, energy beams, torpedoes, everything the ship could throw at a target concentrated on the command organism. The creature tried to defend itself. Tentacles reached for the human ship. Acid sprayed across space. Smaller drones rushed to protect their master. It was not enough. The command organism's head exploded first. Then its body tore apart under the constant fire. Pieces of it scattered across space. Strange fluids leaked into the void. Its light went dark. And across the entire swarm, something changed. The stopped. Not completely, not immediately, but the coordinated movements that had made them so deadly fell apart. That had been working together suddenly turned in random directions. Drones on the surface stopped in the middle of attacks. The hive mind that controlled them was gone. On the bridge of the Eternal Dawn reported what they were seeing. Admiral, forces are becoming disorganized. They are still fighting but not together. It is working. Park allowed himself a small smile. Continue attack. All ships, sweep them out of the sky. The human fleet obeyed with satisfaction. Ships that had been struggling to survive now hunted disorganized enemies. Fighters chased confused drones. Battleships destroyed that wandered aimlessly. The battle was not over, but the tide had turned. On the surface, Marine Captain Shin felt the change immediately. The drones that had been attacking in waves suddenly became confused. Some kept fighting. Others wandered away. Others just stood still. "What is happening?" one of his Marines asked. "Someone killed their brain," replied. He smiled beneath his helmet. "All units push forward, sweep the area, find any survivors still in danger." The Marines advanced. They fell before them, not easily, not without loss, but they fell. In the medical bay of a transport ship, Private opened his eyes. Everything hurt. His chest, his arms, his head, but he was alive. Dr. Hen stood over him. Her face was tired but kind. "Welcome back, Private. You lost a lot of blood, but you are going to live." Tried to speak. His throat was dry. The children smiled. "Safe, all 5 of them. Your squad arrived just in time. They are asking about you, by the way. They want to meet the human who fought for them with just a knife." Closed his eyes. He felt something he had not expected: peace, pride, satisfaction. He had done something that mattered. He had made a difference. "Tell them I will visit when I can walk," he said. 1 week later, the battle was truly over. The swarm was destroyed. Scattered remnants fled into deep space, no longer a threat to anyone. The human fleet had won a victory that the galaxy thought was impossible. But the cost was terrible. 63 ships destroyed, 42,000 humans dead, many more wounded. The fleet that had arrived with such strength now limped around Sanctuary Prime, patching wounds and counting losses. They opened their shelters and came out into the ruined sunlight. Most of their civilization was destroyed. Their cities were rubble. Their forests were ash. But they were alive. millions of them, alive because someone had answered their call. Admiral Park walked through the streets of what had once been the capital city, looked at him with wonder. These tall, glowing aliens had never seen a human before. They had only heard stories, dangerous creatures from a violent planet. But the humans who walked among them now did not look dangerous. They looked tired, sad, hurt. They helped clear rubble, they shared food, they treated wounds. An old approached Park. He was benten, but his eyes were bright. "You are the admiral, the one who brought the fleet." "I am," Park replied. The old bowed deeply. In culture, this was the highest form of respect. "You saved us. You came when no one else would come. You fought when no one else would fight. We owe you everything." Park felt uncomfortable with the praise. "We did what anyone should do. You called for help. We answered." "But no one else answered," the old said. "The galaxy heard our cry and turned away. Only humanity came, only you." He looked up at Park with those large, glowing eyes. "Why, you did not know us. You had no duty to us. Why did you come?" Park thought about the question. He thought about Earth and its violent history. He thought about all the wars humans had fought, all the terrible things they had done to each other, all the darkness in their past. But he also thought about the other side, the heroes who ran toward danger, the soldiers who died protecting others, the ordinary people who stood up against evil even when they were afraid. "Because we know what it means to struggle," he finally said. "We know what it means to be alone and afraid. Our planet tried to kill us every day, and we survived by helping each other. That is who we are. We do not abandon people who need help." The old nodded slowly. "The galaxy was wrong about you. They called you monsters, but you are not monsters. You are guardians." Far away, in the great hall of the Galactic Council, Ambassador O stood before representatives of 100 species. They had called this meeting to discuss what humanity had done. Some wanted to punish Earth for acting without permission. Others wanted to thank them. Most did not know what to do. Listened to their debates patiently. Then she stood to speak. "You call us," she said. "You fear us because of where we come from. You see our violence and our strength, and you are afraid of what we might do." She paused and looked around the chamber. "But you never asked what we might do for others. You never considered that the same traits that make us dangerous also make us protectors. We are stubborn. We do not give up. We fight against impossible odds, and we cannot ignore a cry for help." She stood. "The called for help. You debated. We answered. The swarm, which you said could never be defeated, is destroyed. Not because we are monsters, but because we are exactly what the galaxy needs. Guardians who will stand between the innocent and the darkness." The representative rose from his seat. He walked across the chamber floor and stopped before. Slowly, painfully, he bowed. "On behalf of my people," he said, "I thank humanity. We will never forget what you did for us. Never." Bowed in return. "We ask nothing in return. Only this: when you rebuild, when you recover, when you are strong again, remember this moment. Remember that someone came to help you. And when you see others who need help, answer their call. Pass it forward. That is all we ask." On Sanctuary Prime, the rebuilding began. Humans and worked side by side. Where there had been ruins, new buildings rose. Where there had been ash, new trees were planted. Slowly, carefully, hope returned to a world that had nearly died. In the central square of the new capital, they built a statue. It showed a human marine standing before a group of children, a knife raised in one hand. The face was based on private, though he had tried to refuse the honor. The plaque at the base read, "They came from a world of death. They brought us life. We will remember." Years later, returned to Sanctuary Prime as an old man. He walked through the rebuilt city with his, showing them the places where he had fought, where he had almost died, where he had saved 5 small lives with nothing but a knife and determination. A young approached him. She had large glowing eyes and a curious expression. "Are you the one from the statue?" she asked. Nodded. My grandmother was one of the children you saved, the young said. She told me stories about you, about the human who would not stop fighting even when he was out of weapons. Smiled, I just did what any would do. Were you scared? He thought about the question honestly. Yes, I was terrified, but sometimes being scared does not mean you run away. Sometimes it means you stand your ground harder. The young looked at him with admiration. I want to be like that someday, brave enough to help others even when I am afraid. Put his hand on her shoulder. You already are. The bravery was always inside you. You just have to find it. He looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, the galaxy continued. Species lived and died. Wars started and ended. The universe kept spinning without care for any of them. But on this small planet in this small city, something had changed. A bond had formed between two peoples. A promise had been made, and a question had been answered. What were for? They were for standing between the innocent and the darkness. They were for answering calls that no one else would answer. They were for showing the galaxy that strength and violence could also mean protection and love. They were guardians, and they always would be.